So recently in the news, there has been the story that college graduates in the US actually are seeing a higher unemployment rate than non-college graduates, which is insane when you think that the entire point of going to college is in order to be able to get a job at the end. I thought that was just a crazy news story and I wanted to investigate. I remember hearing about this and I was like, what the hell is going on? Specifically, Gen Z men with college degrees now have the same unemployment rate as non-grads, which is insane because of, first of all, how much debt you have to go into to get your college or university degree, especially in the US, almost anywhere. Like there is a way to do it where you go into less debt or you get like scholarships or whatever, but very, very, very few people actually do that. We talk about it, but it's probably less than 1% of people who get some sort of financial assistance going to education, and the grand majority end up going into debt to do so. And now it's literally less employable than non-college educated people, which is crazy. The one thing I will say though is I think the total earnings still of someone with a college degree end up being higher. This could just be like a moment in time situation where because of AI and all this disruptive stuff that this is a problem. This might improve depending on how the like AI thing pans out. Really problematic, honestly. Let's see what we can find here in the article. Gen Z is increasingly slamming their degrees as useless. Yeah, I've been doing that for years. The unemployment rate for males ages 22 to 27 is roughly the same whether or not they hold a degree. The most recent data from the Federal Reserve indicate that the unemployment rate among recent college graduates is on the rise at about 5.5%. Although it remains lower than the 6.9% among all young workers between 22 and 27 years old, men with a college degree now have roughly the same unemployment rate as young men who didn't go to college. In comparison, around 2010, non-college educated men experienced unemployment rates over 15%, whereas the rate for college graduates was closer to 7%. So this was post-financial crisis. I want to say the previous recession. It's not officially a recession, which is kind of stupid. It's just like kind of a semantics thing, I think, at this point. Let's just call it an economic downturn. The most recent economic downturn around 2010, there was like a 2-to-1 difference for the percentage of people that were able to find work without a college degree versus those with a college degree. Young men and women are facing diverging employment rates. 7% of college-educated American men are unemployed. For women, it's only 4%. Because of growth in fields like healthcare, which women are more likely to pursue. I heard about this as well because of the types of jobs that women gravitate towards, like healthcare, teaching. They're called like heal professions. Those professions tend to do better in economic times because they're kind of always needed. And I've noticed this in my life too. Like I know a lot of people, a lot of women working in healthcare, and they do not really have trouble finding employment. In fact, there is a shortage of healthcare workers. Meanwhile, a lot of men that are looking kind of in the private sector, that are looking even in trades, sometimes it's hard to find work here. Because of the types of jobs that people are choosing, it gets more difficult. And you can say the same thing, like there's a guy who decides to be a nurse or decides to be a teacher. They're very employable, and I have met lots of male nurses and male teachers that are doing just fine and are gainfully employed and are doing really well. We have a teacher shortage here. They're doing like just fine in those fields, but it's just because the majority of men tend to not pursue those fields that makes this kind of problematic for them. Women tend to be more flexible in accepting job offers, even if they're not perfectly aligned with their career goals, or are part-time, or they are overqualified for it. Men, on the other hand, hold out for roles that align more closely with their ideal career path, or offer what they perceive as adequate compensation and status. I have fallen into this trap myself, I will say. It's very hard to wrap your brain around going like backwards. So I've felt this as like a personal thing. I have had jobs in the past, maybe for like one reason or another, and I got paid a certain amount in those jobs. And I don't want to accept a job that pays lower than what I was able to get in the past, because theoretically I'm more skilled now and more educated now than I was in the past. So why should I get paid less after having gained more education? It makes it really challenging to go backwards, and I completely understand this. I also realize too, like depending on what you're doing, if you're changing a career path or if you're just like updating what you want to do, you generally do have to take a pay cut, and sometimes just getting your foot in the door is better than nothing at all, and that's something else to consider as well. So let's take a look and see if there are similar statistics for Canada. University 7.6, more than trades. like significantly more than trades. And it's been continuing like that for a few years. Wow. And that's across Canada too. Youth unemployment reached its highest level since 2010. So I knew about this. This is like the thing that's really scary in Canada that I don't know that people are like talking about it or that they're talking about it enough. And that's the youth unemployment rate is getting really high. This is a big problem now and for the future because having the employment experiences when you're younger really does help you gain the experience and the skills and learn how to work. If people are not getting those skills, there are statistics that back up the fact that it can really negatively impact their future earnings and their career growth and all this stuff. It's like very formative and important time for people to be able to find employment, and it's just not happening. The unemployment rate is lower among older returning students and those aged 20 to 24. So still 10% unemployment rate for, call it summer employment. It's kind of rough. In conclusion, it doesn't really seem like the exact same thing is happening yet in Canada as it is in the US. But what's interesting is if you look specifically at people in trades and construction and apprenticeship type programs, their employment rates are higher than people who have a university degree, which is very interesting to me. And I think that that kind of trend is going to continue to diverge with AI and all this stuff. And in the future, I think you will probably see what you're seeing in the US, in Canada, which is that people who go the trades route or apprenticeship route tend to be more employed than those who ended up going to university and spending the tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars getting educated, which is crazy and sucks. I wish someone had told me that a little bit sooner. You know, you can't change the past. There's no point in bringing the past into today. You know, today is a new day, tomorrow's a new day. You cannot change what you did in the past, but you can change what you do in the future. And I think having the information to make those decisions is important and will help you hopefully make decisions that are better. So that's about it. Thanks for dropping by. I will see you in the next one. Bye.